Okay, so you may be asking yourself or asking me, Scotty, how is this from your childhood? Well, I have to explain this. So, I am taking a look at The Ring. It came out in 2002, which is when I was transitioning between middle school and high school. Okay? And this was, a big time. We had just recently moved into this big ass house. And it was it's a big, empty sort of house that I always thought was haunted. And I'm not going to go into deep reasons why, but I'd be sitting in my room and think someone's walking by. But I look up and there's no one there. You can say, oh, that's just your eyes playing trick with you. Yeah. And I always thought it was haunted because people say, well, maybe someone was walking by. My room was on the very end of the floor. And there was a wall there. And they were going this way. To the right. They were going to the right. I'm pointing to the right. They were going to the right where the wall was. There was something in there. I wake up in the middle of the night and the toy room door will be wide open. There is definitely some ghosts in that house. I'm telling you. Creaking from the floors. When there was no one else in the house but me, I'm downstairs with the dogs, and there's creaking from upstairs as if someone is walking on the floorboards, but there's no one there. And then, my mom would make excuses. Oh, that's just the house settling. No, there are ghosts in this house, woman. And so when The Ring came out, we watched it together as a family. And so we watched this, and then I had to go to bed right after the film. Needless to say, I stayed up watching a little bit of TV, a little bit of the funnies. Which, there are some movies that get me, where I have to watch something funny afterwards, and this was one of them. So, The Ring, 2002, let's get into it. Alright, now that I've spent almost 3 minutes babbling about a haunted house. So, the opening scene to this film is iconic in its own right. This film, arguably, started a trend of Asian films being remade, Americanized, so to speak. You had Ring, which is the Japanese Ring or Ringu, remade as The Ring, and you had The Grudge, which is from Ju-on, and you had One Missed Call, and The Uninvited, all being remade of Asian films, and this started it. So the opening scene to this film is, you think it's going to be nothing. It's these two teenage girls. They're talking about boys. And then this one girl mentions just out of nowhere, you hear about this videotape that kills people? Like, you watch it and there's this lady and they do this and that. And then after you're done, phone rings and says you're going to die in 7 days. Which is always wrong. Look, every time in every movie they tell this story, they say the phone rings and it says you're going to die in 7 days. But every time they watch the videotape, it just says 7 days. 7 days. I don't know how they can keep getting that wrong and still put I'm saying 7 days, but yes. And so, this is played out as being real freaky. And then I think maybe they thought people were going to get too scared too much, because then they played off as if it was a joke. But she's like, and then she's not really dead. But then, they're thinking, okay, so maybe this is just a joke. But then, it actually happens. And we see the aftermath later. When I saw her face, and you see that look. And it just, oof. I think the best kill of the movie is actually towards the end of the film. But, so, this girl's aunt, Rachel Keller, who's our main character, played by Naomi Watts, begins an investigation because she's an investigative reporter, and she starts to get she first told by her sister to get information from the girl's friends, which we have cameos from Sacha Bareilles, who was in the Hangover movies, and Adam Brody, who is just there playing one of the characters to throws out exposition, basically. Say that the girl's boyfriend also died, and Rachel finds out that it was at the exact same time, which makes no fucking sense. Look. Okay, so they established that they both died at the exact same time. Samara is a spirit. She cannot be in two places at the same times. That's not how it works. She can... Now, if he died at 10:01, right after Katie died, that would make sense. You could have just said they died on the same night. I don't get the same time thing. It makes no sense to me. It's never made any sense to me. Oh, they died at the same time. How? A spirit can't be in the same place at the same time. It makes no fucking sense. And you can say, oh, it's a ghost. It could be wherever it wants to be. No, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Another thing that doesn't make any sense is that Aiden, Rachel's son, I almost said daughter, has some strange connection before he's even watched the tape. He has some strange connection. He's writing pictures and stuff like that. And then halfway through the film, he watches the tape. Now, so they make a deal out of this. That they at the end. So she shows the tape to her ex-husband, ex-boyfriend, whatever, played by Martin Henderson, and they begin their investigation of what's trying to go on. And then his assistant comes up, played by Polly Pierrette, Abby from NCIS. I'm like, first I was like, Adam Brody? And then she's like Abby? There's people in this movie I didn't even realize were in this movie. Excuse me. Excuse me. So, he wants her to check it out. She says, no. Oh, how that came back to haunt him in the end. She screwed him over. She fucked him. She fucked him over good. Because when we find out later what you have to do to save yourself and pass it on, so she begins this investigation. And I'm going to save you the boring part. This is probably the boring part of the film. They're going back and forth between the boyfriend trying to get into the hospital's records and her trying to get information from this island, and the Samara, the girl's adopted father, played by Brian Cox. So the story is that this girl, Samara, is creating this tape that is killing people. She's behind it. We find out she projects images onto this tape. I don't know. The boyfriend goes in some kind of mumbo jumbo about it, but I never caught on to it. And so she talks to Brian Cox, and he says, I never had a daughter, and everything. And meanwhile, the boyfriend's looking up stuff, and so he says he is Samara's father. Why didn't he just say he was her younger uncle? He was the younger brother of the father, an uncle, or her mom's younger brother. Come on. Even the guy doesn't believe him, and then when they find out the file was last checked out by the actual father, how didn't they already know that? You think they would have known if their files were missing. But anyway, Eventually, Rachel and the boyfriend reconnect. Now, I will mention that before this, Rachel had made a copy so that the boyfriend could have one tape and look at it, which though she does take that too. And then she has the second copy, which Aiden watches, and she throws underneath the chair. Because he shouldn't have watched it. Now that he's watched it, now they're trying to figure out how to stop it. Now, from this point on, she is no longer cursed. Spoiling that right now. Because that's the twist in the film. They find the body in the well because Brian Cox kills himself because he doesn't want any images projected in his head, because that's what she can do, what Samara can do, the whispers, the images, whatever. So he kills himself. Goodbye, Brian Cox. You're a good part of this film. He's a great actor, that Brian Cox. Anyway, so she finds this well, which is underneath the cabin, same cabin that her niece stayed in and that she stayed in when she was doing an investigation. Coincidence? Maybe too much of one. But I find what happens next to be very stupid. So they're right there, about to find the body. And Samara thinks she has to push them just a little more. So she decides to make water come out of the TV, which would cause sparks. And drown the nails, which makes them come up, which wouldn't actually happen, I don't think, and cause the TV to fall down, hit Rachel, but the TV does not fall in the well, even though that's what would happen. It would knock her to the well and the TV too, but it knocks her in the well, the TV kind of falls to the side, and I see why they wrote that, because the TV falling in. She wouldn't have got electrocuted per se, because it wasn't plugged in, but I don't know. She falls in and she's alive somehow, and she finds the body of Samara, which is still looking normal, although it does decompose, and that's a pretty good shot when it does decompose. And so they think since they find the body, it's over, because Rachel has lasted past sunset. But the twist is, Aiden watched the copy of the tape, which means that's how you transfer it. And the boyfriend dies, and that's probably the best reveal of his, probably the best kill in this, the best, Samara kill that she gets. Because it's not really over, because the twist, of course, like I already mentioned, is that you have to copy the tape, and then you have to show someone else the tape, and that stops the curse from you, but moves it on. Which is stupid, but it's also interesting at the same time. But at the same time, she also showed the boyfriend the original tape. And he was still cursed. So either way, whether you watch the original or the copy, you're still going to get it. And how do you copy a videotape which has no... As he was trying to explain something, and I don't think it would work to copy a tape that way, but... And the movie ends. And I didn't go to sleep for a couple hours after that. Afterwards, we got done. My mom's like, okay, time for bed. And I'm like, you think so? I stayed up and watched TV for a little bit. No way was I getting to sleep right after that, especially in that house. And we actually got the DVD for the house later. And there was one time, my sister was babysitting and my brother was upstairs sleeping. And I watched this downstairs with the dogs in the dark, which was a bad idea. Another movie I did that with was White Noise, which also works. That was another one where when I first watched White Noise, I had to watch something. I should do a top 10 movie. Top 10 movies where I had to calm down afterwards. Who knows? But yes, it was after this in the dark. Because I'm a brave dumbass. You hear the vacuum out there? That is the caretaker vacuuming the hallways. I'm sorry. If you can hear that, I cannot do anything about that. But as it stands, The Ring is a pretty good film. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's pretty good. I will be doing the sequels, but that will not be until March. Because that's when I'm kind of doing I'm finishing it, so to speak. I'm finishing stuff like the Omen franchise and the Ring franchise. And I'm doing the 4 James Bond movies with Daniel Craig. So, yeah. So what are your thoughts on The Ring? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. See you in the next one.